Welcome back to Through a Glass Darkly. We're live today, but we're not on the radio. I have a very special guest who's going to appear in a few future interviews as well, but he got something so hot that we had to kind of put it out. And there's a whole thing around this. We go into you're going to see some video that's kind of creepy. We're going to go through the provenance of that video, and then we're going to show you how one of the best professional video forensics experts in the world handles these things. So this particular live stream is not for the faint of heart, and there's some crazy stuff, and I can't even tell you if what he's been told is real. I believe him, but just back up the truck and get ready. Scott,
Howdy.
did I do you some justice there, or
Yeah,
what?
I appreciate that, brother. And I think you framed this thing correctly. We've got a piece of evidence that was brought to me as a whistleblower that is incredible. And I've done my due diligence to try to verify the work that these gentlemen have brought to me. And I'm just here as an impartial observer and analyst trying to make sense of it.
Okay. Now, walk us through before we show this video.
Yeah.
Walk us through how it came into your possession. And I know this is going to be frustrating for people, but neither Scott nor I want to get sued. So he's not going to use names. He's not going to use names. Okay.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna use some names, but after advice of counsel, I'm not gonna. I don't think I can because the nature of it is very sensitive, and it's spectacular and it's inexplicable. And it shook me a little bit, and I really wanted to see if it's real. And I've got some conclusions that I'll save at the end, but I think to start off, this gentleman had kind of came to me out of the blue about a year ago with some incredible claims of his technology being able to demonstrate the hidden world. And through his video quantum analysis, I've done my best to try to understand it. I'm not a PhD. I'm a crime scene expert, video and analyst expert. My claim to fame, which is what I do on the 9 to 5, is crime and shooting scene reconstruction. I'm a testifying expert witness in police involved shooting cases, homicide cases. I work for both the defense and the prosecution, both here in the States and internationally. So, I'm trying to bring a measured approach to understanding this. And it's difficult to get your mind around it. So this gentleman came to me about a year ago on another subject matter. And I was listening to it and trying to evaluate it.
By the way, was this before or after you analyzed the Vegas case? This is like after, I'm guessing.
After, yeah.
And that was your first foray. That was your first foray into this whole crazy area.
Okay. Yeah, I'd never worked professionally in the field of UFOs before, and frankly, I don't think I'm going to be sticking around in the UFO field all that much longer. I can make sense of bullets and blood and homicide and all that. That makes sense to me, right? It's what I've done for going on 30 years now. And as you can see, the lines in my face are getting pretty deep, folks, for all the things I've seen. But the lines in my face have gotten a lot deeper just by investigating this UFO field for the last 2 years, because the kind of analysis that we look at in the court system verifiable, peer reviewable evidence is far and few in between when you are dealing with woo science, with people that are self-taught in quantum physics, people that have this special ability, so they claim, to analyze these things and demonstrate it for the public, and really, saying that they know for certain what these things mean. And all I can tell you is the longer I've been looking at this UFO phenomenon, and the more information I get, the less I seem to know. And a wise man once said, the more you know, the less you know. Or the older you get, the more you realize you don't know anything. And so there's a lot to still learn. I'm not here to tell you I know what's going on in the UFO world. I know what I've done on the Las Vegas case. That makes sense to me. I've been able to apply a scientific standard to that. I can prove that case in court that it's real by an evidentiary standpoint, with unrelated, uninterested parties converging on points where all of the gaps are covered, and that case is rock solid. And as
even in the methods of the video that you received, you actually, I'm guessing you analyzed the device that it was recorded on, so its provenance, at least on the Vegas case.
On the Vegas case, yeah.
And
so I felt, I still feel that is the most rock solid piece of evidence of extraterrestrial visitation that we have.
Well, you don't know it's extraterrestrial, but non-human.
Well, whatever it is, non-human.
Right.
You're right. I don't know it's extraterrestrial. We call it, I guess we're just referring to it as non-human intelligence or visitors of some kind. I feel really confident. So as a result of bringing that case and kind of launching I'm very well known in the crime scene world, but nobody knows me in the UFO world until I brought out the Vegas case. And I got a lot of people.
Well, just by very well known, you can qualify that. People who know you, they know this, but the Oscar Pistorius, I can't say the last name.
Yeah, no, I was hired. I was Oscar Pistorius's expert in South Africa. I stayed there for quite a period of time working on that case. I'm currently actively working on over 5 different homicides in Australia. I'm every police involved shooting case that you're probably aware of in the news, I've worked on over the last 25 years since I started.
But your work's been on like CNN and it's not like we're not. Yeah,
I've hosted 48 Hours. You can go. There's a 2-hour episode on 48 Hours called the Evidence Room episode, where they follow me around for 2 months as I work with witnesses and prepare my testimony for federal cases on a police involved shooting and a domestic homicide. So my work is documented on the record of what I do for a living. You can go visit me at evidence-room.net if you want to find more about my legal business, because that's really where I'm. That's where I live. That's what I'm going to do, and that's what I continue to do. I'm a day walker, a visitor on the UFO field, and it just keeps getting weirder and weirder, and it's hard to put your brain around it as a regular guy. And I'm just a regular guy, I'm nothing special here. I'm good at what I do, and I try to take those skills and analyze this UFO stuff, and it's the Vegas aliens were real, guys, whether it's alien or not, but the Vegas thing is real. I was responding to your comment there, but so this guy came to me as a result of me kind of having a new public face on the Vegas thing, and reached out to me, and I've been kind of working, listening to his story over the last year or so, and kind of getting to know him a little bit, learning a little bit about his technology and whatnot. And it's interesting.
King James is very wise, but keep going.
So when this, also my good friend Ross Coulthart, I actually met Ross Coulthart on the Oscar Pistorius case in Australia. And we did a 2-hour episode in Australia on my case called Running Scared, which was a great case, great coverage of my involvement on that case, which you guys can go see. The case that we're bringing to you today involves Ross Coldhart's story of a whistleblower that brought you the great egg, the UFO egg story that was hauled by a helicopter with a 150-foot tether to an unknown location that is purported to be a UFO craft that the military retrieved as part of their UFO retrieval program. And I watched the story as it broke. It didn't grab me initially. I was worried about other things, but I was aware of it. And then this gentleman that I've got to know sent me an inexplicable video saying that he had,
which will show, just
which will show,
relax, people. There's more to this that's even more interesting than just the video. So.
That he has one. So he claims to me, and I have all my notes here, and I'll try to give everybody as much information I can without unmasking him, because I think for his protection, I don't think I want to.
I don't think it's good to unmask anybody in this particular thing, because we'll explain why when we get to the end.
Yeah. So he sent me a message saying he has information that he was contracted by a Department of Defense official, and then, as it turns out, through some kind of an aerospace private industry cutout as a communicator, to analyze this footage that News Nation put out of this UFO egg retrieval that made a big splash in the news. And I said, okay, that's really interesting. And then he said, also, I'm in a hospital bed and I've been poisoned and I think I'm going to die. And he wanted me to have the information, and he wanted me to get it out there to the world, maybe as safety or as some kind of last-ditch effort to, get his work out before it gets buried. So that's why I came to you. I wanted you to vet it, listen to the story, tell me if you think it's got some legs. And, you and I consulted on it for a minute. You looked at the messages that I sent you confidentially and the materials, and you found it to have some players that are known players in the industry. And then we've reached out to other people in the know, in the business, that are key players who also said they're aware of it and are disturbed by it. And I think
I'll give a little Easter egg, but I'm not going to say the names. One of the players that was mentioned in this series of texts, you would know who he is, and the other you might not. But for people who've kind of examined some of this stuff, they would know. But both of these players are mentioned by name somewhere in Chris Bledsoe's book. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know that for sure. It's just the two. They were just two first names.
Well, the one guy,
first names,
a person, I know who the guy is.
Well, but that's if we didn't see last names, to be 100% clear. So I'd say, but the two names together, and then associated with this topic and associated with other things, I would say with 75% confidence, I know who they are, and I'm not going to mention their names because one of them is the one that you don't really know too much about. Is like, we'll just call him the bag man. He's the money guy, the bag man. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, man. You're good. Normally I don't have to protect people's identities and dance around things. I'm a kind of by the numbers guy. Okay. So he's telling me that he's in a hospital bed in a foreign country, and that he has a mysterious.
Actually, good choice not to say which country. That's actually a good choice.
Say.
Yeah, it's too much. Keep going.
And that he has a mysterious infection, and tubes in his heart. And he sent me a copy of his chart and his armband and all that to verify that that's what he was. And I was satisfied that he was in that hospital bed receiving treatment. And he claims that after he gave this information to his handler, I guess, for better, that his handler went dark and he immediately got sick.
And what was he sick with? Does he know?
According to him, which is all I have, is that the hospital officials say that he has a mysterious infection and they don't know what caused it. And the last time I spoke with him on the phone, he was in bad shape.
Okay, and why was he in a foreign country?
Huh?
Why was he in a foreign country to begin with?
Okay, well, here's an interesting part of the story. And it's dark. I think as appropriate through a glass darkly, right? It is a dark kind of arc. So this gentleman was an American who had a rural business that was successful, and was somehow convinced to sell it. And he was lured to a foreign country by what I can only describe as a woman from another foreign country. And then he was quickly drained of his money, left alone in isolation, being handled to work on this stuff. And over the past year, I've noticed that his health, his ability to provide for himself is in decline. He's reached out to me for support. I can only do what I can do, but I have to remain objective, and I don't want to be pulled in as part of the story. And that's why I'm coming to you to tell the story, because I need to divest myself, because I can't get involved and be objective and be part of it. And even in my crime scene cases, and I talked about this last night with Paige Fox, we did a Twitter Spaces, and we were talking about whistleblower protection and what kind of resources that they need to protect themselves from an evidentiary standpoint. And my advice is, you are your own best resource for protection by documenting who hired you, when they hired you, what they hired you for, where they're from, and get it all in writing, and have contemporaneous notes, so that if they cut you loose, you've got a record. And I think what happens is these people get isolated. They get put into a pickle where they're kind of at the behest of their handler. And it's unfortunate that, this guy 5 years ago, he was doing fine. Mm-hmm. And now he's not. And I feel bad for him. But I have to divest myself from involvement because, it's not something I can personally get involved with. And I just want to, bring it out and let people know what it is. So let's get to what he sent me. And we don't have to show it yet, but let me describe it. So the first thing that he sent me was an image that he considers to be, and I just texted you that image because it wouldn't go through on my presentation.
Oh, so you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I think we want to start with that. And if you want to throw that one up on the screen, I think that's a great image to start with.
All right, let me figure
I want
out
to explain the science that they explained to me. And listen, I have admiration for these guys. I think that they're good people. And I think that they're telling me what they believe to be the truth is. and I'm just relaying that information, trying to be as objective as possible. Okay, I'm not putting my stamp of approval on it in any way, shape, or form, but I am trying to just report this for your viewers to know. I think your viewers are probably a lot better equipped than I am, honestly, to determine its relevance. But I can tell you what I've learned about this image. Did you get that text?
I got the text. Now I'm sending it to myself.
Yeah, because it was weird, man, because I was trying to upload that to the presentation and it wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah, just give it some. Give it some.
Do you want to play the raw egg video first, just to get people kind of in the?
Is that the raw? Okay, yeah, I think you have to re-upload it because I only
Okay,
see the.
Yeah, let me get that. Because I found the cleanest version of that egg video that I've seen. I actually even called it the clean egg video, so I just uploaded it there. If you want to play that for everybody,
okay,
just to get everybody associated with what we're looking at here. So let's
look. Here we go.
Look at this image for another step. So that's what we're looking at here. That's the video in question. That's the best version I was able to find on the internet without any kind of News Nation headlines and whatnot over the top of it. And I feel like that's a pretty clean video there. So just to get everybody associated. Now we have the first image that was sent to me was what these gentlemen feel is I think a big reveal, which is a quantum photographic image of a still frame of that egg as it sits on the ground.
All right, I am still working to figure out how to get this thing.
It's weird. It wouldn't let me. I saved it as a TIFF, as a GIF, as a JPEG, and it wouldn't let me upload it.
We could show the other one, but not yet. Let's.
Yeah, we need to see this one first because this one explains what the other one's doing.
Okay, let's see. What's the best way for me to do this?
Yeah, what I could do is I could drop it. I could make. I got an idea. Just give me a second. If you guys out there, I am happy to take any other questions on the subject while we're toiling to get this thing in.
Yeah, it is not cooperating, man.
I know, man. That's the thing about this, about these things in the UFO field, is that it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. Okay, here we go. All right, I got it here.
You got it?
Yeah, let me render it out. Okay.
Yeah, I tried to send it to myself. Nothing.
Yeah, I got it here. I'm making it into a movie file, and I'm just gonna render it out now because I know that'll work. So you guys are seeing this is how the bacon's cooked here, guys.
we did so good so far, but yeah, now we're getting a little.
All right, this is rendering out. Okay, that's a quick render. That's why I have a Macintosh, folks, because that's the best machine out there. Little commercial for Steve Jobs, rest his soul. All right, I got it here, and video file. And
as soon as I see it, I'll put it up.
All right, I got it. There you go.
There we go. All right, and
okay.
All right, let me make it bigger.
Yeah,
you can still talk and people can still hear. So
okay, so right here, guys, this is the egg right here. They're calling this frame 265. Okay, and what we see here is the contents of the egg. And now, based on the way their imaging system works, blue is hot and red is cold. And what they're telling me is that this blue area here is so hot that it is radiological, that it is radioactive, that it is the detonation, it is the payload, it's the explosive device for this egg. And this red piece right here is super cool, meaning that's the trigger. So when you lose the cooling system, the radiation system then can explode the egg, and then the contents of the egg are there for you to look at. Okay. Whatever you want to make of that. So that is what they are telling me is the science behind their imaging system.
And who's they? These are the two owners of the
Well, the one
technology?
is the whistleblower, and the other is, as it turns out, I thought it was a peer review, but he's a partner in the whistleblower's private company. So,
so you asked for the partner, or sorry, you asked for the whistleblower to provide you with
a peer review,
an independent peer reviewer with experience in this particular field. And which particular field is this?
This quantum photographic imaging.
Okay,
field.
so this is like a physicist that he referenced you to. Was it explained that he was a physicist, or did
in a way, this guy. Well, and that's why we're not using names here, guys, because he's talking physics, but he's not a PhD.
Well, what questions did you ask him? Let's just go with that. You get this strange video, and by the way, there's more. There's another video that's associated with this, but we'll get to that. What question did you ask him when you got this?
Well, I actually recorded it with. He's like, I want to explain this to you. I'm like, all right. I jumped on a Zoom call. I'm like, okay, I'm recording this for posterity. I hit record. I was like, all right, explain it. And as he was explaining this image to me here, it went all over the place for a while. And then I'm trying to hammer down. I'm like, well, tell me your qualifications. You're talking to me a lot about physics here. Where did you get your PhD? He's like, well, I don't have a PhD. Well, where did you study physics? Well, he's self-taught. So, I'm not sure how much of a peer review that is. But
not that autodidacts don't know what they're doing.
No,
it's just the probability that they do. He
seemed very knowledgeable. By all means, he's a smart guy. And I'm not saying he's not a smart guy. But if I gave this to Avi Loeb or somebody at Harvard or somebody at MIT, and then they told me the same thing, then I'd be satisfied. But after almost 2 weeks of trying to hammer down to get these guys to even write me a 1-page paper, I couldn't get them to do it.
So do you know, were they able to explain what this quantum photography, kind of the mechanism by which it worked?
Well, yeah, I have notes here. Let me get.
Well, before you get into that, let's show the. You want me to show the video?
Yeah,
the other video.
Let's go with the. Yeah, let's go.
This is the first. This is the first image I saw, and it was creepy. All right, here we go. And I'll expand it so everybody can see it.
Yeah.
All right, what are we seeing here? Like, are these like
heads? What we're seeing here is the egg, and we're seeing, from what I'm told, and like I said, I want to be very clear. This is what I'm told. I'm not telling you that this is what this is. Okay, this is what I'm told by these guys, these whistleblowers. That white area that's kind of glowing is the radiological. That's the radiation coming out of the egg. And they believe that is what burned the pilot. And I think there's testimony that the pilot was burned, if you believe his testimony. And then the green that's kind of emanating out of the egg is the payload that has been triggered to be released. And essentially, what I'm gathering by putting, A plus B together is that C equals that they believe this is a Trojan horse that was set down so that it would be picked up, so that it could be released in an area that it wanted to be, that maybe it couldn't go independently. So literally an Easter egg, a poison Easter egg was set down by some apparently not friendly other so that it would be picked up by the greedy hands of the military and brought behind enemy lines to then be released. That's what I'm getting is the story here.
Okay. All right. Let me remove this for a second. I think people have seen it. Okay. So you get this super creepy video.
Yeah. Pretty creepy.
And you reach out to other people in the field, not just me, but people who are far more credentialed in the field.
Yes.
Like major newspaper type folks
major.
who've covered this topic, and just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And how did they respond?
They said that this gentleman is a known individual.
Well, not yet. We didn't get to that part yet. Before that, there was another, think newspapers and not video.
Yeah. Okay. There's a big newspaper that that this information was handed off to confidentially first, and that individual declined to go public with a story. Now my contact, and listen, that's why we're keeping.
Did you get a sense why? Did you get a sense why they declined?
Well, he said that it was because she was scared, and maybe, but I think maybe I know now why she didn't go forward with this, and that's because she probably encountered some of the things that I encountered in trying to verify it.
Okay, according to your source.
Yeah.
Okay. And you also talked to somebody who's associated with something more akin to video broadcasting, and what was their response?
Well, his response was that he knows of this guy. And
this is several days later, right?
Yeah, this is after.
What happened between the first outreach you had and now, in terms of this is important.
Well, the first outreach I had was because the story is that the individual that I'm dealing with feels that he was attacked with a biological weapon that made him sick, and that's why he's dying in a hospital. And then my contact at this agency said, well, if he dies, it's a good story.
All right, but in terms of the behavior of the source over the last several days, you didn't go with this right away because, like a true professional, you wanted to vet it. Yeah. You wanted to have potentially other video experts look at it. You wanted to understand the methodology by which this technology worked, because it's not something you've worked with or you're familiar with.
No,
at any deep level.
Yeah, this kind of technology does exist and people do use it. However, it's not something that you could ever bring into a courtroom. It's not cross-examinable, because what I'm gathering is that the source says the technology is in him. Like, he is the technology. He is the vessel that can produce these images. And, that's difficult for a guy like me to process, because in the world of crime scenes, I can't come into the courtroom and say, well, It's all me. I've got to be able to show my math. I've got to be able to reveal it to the world and let it, let somebody with similar skill set cross-examine me. And I've had a difficult time getting anybody to be able to verify the process in which this has been evaluated. I'm not saying it's not true. Was that Gray Owl? Gray Owl, my man. Love you, Gray Owl. Shout out to the great north of Canada, my man.
Great
Gray
White
Owl
North.
in the house. I love that guy. He's my dude. Gray Owl has been just a little story about Gray Owl. Gray Owl has been, I think, one of the most it's guys like him that keep you going, because his level of zest and enthusiasm he's a great guy. He's actually become a friend. And anyway, big shout out to you, Gray Owl, man. Thanks for tuning in, my man. Love you.
There was a quick question about what was the process. So I'm just going to read something from some other account in this whistleblower's own words, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's quantum imaging proprietary photometric process and analysis, which enables the extraction of useful hidden information within the visible spectrum found in photographs and videos. The source uses classical and quantum-derived physics to achieve the unprecedented unlocking of hard-coded data sets within the imaging itself, and alleges that the technology has been proven to accurately reveal unknown theorized processes. Things previously regarded as impossible to be seen are commonly seen with this technology. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
It still doesn't explain how it works. Right?
No, no. It doesn't explain it. A lot of fancy words there that individually make a lot of sense, but unless you can open up your computer and face it to the camera and show me your keystrokes and let me duplicate it, that's what I've done. And not to go harp on the Vegas case, but on the Las Vegas case, I have put out to the public the raw footage. Anybody out there in your audience can go get that raw footage that I put out there, and they can find every one of those images that I revealed. They can find it themselves. I'm not saying that I did anything special to draw that out. That's out there for everyone to peer review me. As a matter of fact, I even had a $5,000 bet out there to that one debunker, Mick West. Yeah, I keep getting confused. I get him confused with the Mick chicken sandwich. Anyway, Mick West. I offered him $5,000. I'm like, Mick, if you can debunk any of my points in my 17-page report, $5,000's yours, baby. He declined. So Mick West,
he said it wasn't worth his time or something like that, right?
No,
Which could,
hey man, that's $5,000. I mean, if somebody offers me $5,000, I think I could debunk. I'll take that offer. I'll take that deal any day. A quick $5,000 in my pocket. Why not? I have 2 grandchildren. I'll take that money. Sure.
Okay, so that's what he alleges.
Yeah.
And you tried to get him to put something on paper to at least explain how it works.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got a lot of. I don't even know if I want to say it. It's so dark, man. I feel like people, and this is what I'm gathering, right? Maybe it's real, the CIA and the government, when they do these black.
Let me frame it really quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a certain 3-letter intelligence agency that, I don't know if it's a motto, but it's a common practice, which they say, always put someone between yourself and the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. And in this particular field, somebody with your credentials can be very dangerous to people with intentions that are not the same intentions as yours, or objectives or interests that are misaligned with yours. And sometimes it can be useful to attempt to discredit you with something like this. Now, we're not saying that that is, or you're not saying, and I'm not saying either, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that that is what's being done here. But I'm gonna use actually a former CIA employee's words to describe the situation. So there's legitimate whistleblowers who are afraid for their lives and are trying to get something out. That could be the case here. However, as the famous Ron Pandolfi has said, in this field, sometimes there are, and this is his quote here: loons, crooks, or worse. Okay, the or worse could be, crooks are just trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
Loons are, may legitimately be having a mental health crisis, because I'm not
Right.
trying to diminish it. And then worse is maybe it's an op.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an attempt to discredit somebody who has impeccable credentials.
Yeah.
So when Scott's looking through the filter, not only is he examining the video, but he has to keep that in mind, because that's how you earn a living. That's how you feed your family, yourself, your family.
Yeah.
And you can't get derailed by something that is a obsessive interest, but an interest on the side. So you have to be super careful. Anyway, I didn't mean
Yeah,
to. I
no,
know you had a lot to
absolutely.
say.
And listen, just because you maybe want something to be true shouldn't interfere with you um, being able to prove that it's true. And I cannot make the leap from desire to ability. And I think this case is an example of, yeah, maybe it is true, but I can't whatsoever verify it, because the players that are bringing it to me are so all over the place. And maybe that's by design. I don't know. But I can't get them down to bring it into a format that I could bring it into court. And if I can't bring it to that standard, then I just got to say, hey, it's up for you guys to decide what it means. I think that when you really go into these images, it evokes a spiritual, ominous message. And I think maybe that is by design, and maybe it's real. I mean, I think people know that I'm a Christian, and uh, and that is important to me. And sometimes I think people play into that, and they say, well, let's give him something that plays into his belief system. And it just doesn't it doesn't move the needle for me. I'm not going to get played on my passions and pride and my personal prejudice, and I will never bring my faith into an analysis. I have to remain objective as an analyst. Otherwise, I'm not an analyst anymore. I'm a commentator, and I'm not a commentator. I give my opinions on certain things, but I'll tell you when those are my opinions. As anybody that's seen my show, I'll tell you when it's my opinion, and I'll tell you when I think I can prove it. And my opinion on this is that I think it's up for you guys to decide whether it has any legitimacy to it. But I'm going to remain an objective observer and just bring it to you the way it was brought to me. And listen, I hope I'm not hurting these guys' feelings, because I think that they're good guys. I
Yeah,
just
look,
I can't
they've
get involved and be part of the game. It's not my game.
they're likely interacting. Well, they may be. Again, this is all if you believe what he says, right?
Yeah. Well, he's giving me paperwork to show that he's dealing with people that are historically known to be involved into these exact things. Now, I have questions as to that involvement, maybe, steering it at me.
Right. So I'll put into words what you may or may not be trying to say.
Yeah,
Okay. 'Cause I don't want to
maybe you could
attribute
say
to
it
you.
better. Yeah.
But I've mentioned putting yourself between you and the problem. And we're not saying it applies to or Scott's not saying it applies to this case. But sometimes you throw a crazy person at somebody and they glom on and we're saying we're not saying that's the case. And the other thing too is, let's say the video is legitimate. This could be a way that this individual may have is in a situation where they're completely isolated,
Yeah. It
panicking
definitely is. Yeah.
in another country,
Yeah.
and they've been deliberately isolated over time. And this is kind of part of the playbook. So, in kind of a Cold War behind the Iron Curtain in East Germany, where they used the Stasi, which is their intelligence network, they used to torture people, and they were finding that over time they weren't really getting all that great information. I mean, they got a lot of information, but it wasn't as reliable, things like
Right.
that. So they developed a new technique called Zersetzung. And Zersetzung literally in German means decomposition. And what they would do is rather than haul these people in, they would, with the consent of the circle around them, would steadily find ways to alter that person's day-to-day reality.
Yeah.
They would destroy relationships. They would just subtly chip away over time. And what you end up doing to somebody is you just destroy them psychologically. If you've watched the interviews that I did with David Drake, or not, I keep saying not
Yeah.
David, but
Those are compelling. Yeah.
Thomas Drake, who used to work for the NSA, when he was in the Air Force, he used to listen in to these conversations where he got to hear it, the use of these techniques happening in real time in German. So I'm not saying that our government does it, but I would be surprised if our government didn't take some
Well,
lessons from it.
just a
So
quick
this guy
shout
may
out.
have been destroyed by somebody.
Well, it's interesting because I've been getting involved with Paige Fox, who's a attorney, whistleblower advocate, and really, I think, a wellness coach.
By the way, did you see the Red Panda video floating around?
Yeah,
with
we talked about
you
that last
talking?
night. With me talking?
With you talking.
Oh no, I did not see that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is it complimentary?
It's enigmatic.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
just talking about, I don't know who this guy is. He just, when somebody like that comes out of the woodwork and suddenly he's getting millions of views. So he just, that's just
that's what
that
I
whole
said.
segment.
I was kind of laying in
After
on.
this, just check. It's floating.
I'll
It's
check it out.
floating around.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Listen, I'm kind of insulated from that because I really don't tweet. I mean, I'm on Twitter. You can follow me, Scott Roeder at CSTM on Twitter or X, whatever. But I mean, I don't live on that device. I check it from time to time, especially when I'm doing this Twitter Spaces, with Paige, which we did last night. And part of what I just did a deep dive on my channel where I interview Paige for 2 hours over 2 shows, where we talk about direct to skull technology.
Yeah.
And
they've had that since at least the 1970s.
yeah, and this woman who has a company called Amy's Audios, which basically goes to help out. I'm 2 root beers in. I'm excited. That's funny. Which basically goes to kind of unveil the targeted individuals.
Do you have a timestamp for the foot? I don't even know how we get that timestamp for footage, please.
Yeah. Well, if you look
I
at
don't even think you have that level of information. That's why
no,
you're
I
not
don't.
calling
No,
it. Right.
listen, guys, I will send. I'll make available everything out there that I have, and I got to redact out certain things though, uh, for people. Okay, so the the egg payload. You people are funny, man. I love your comments. King James, he's a traitor. Not
I,
that King James, but the King James from Cleveland. Anyway, I love your comments, man. These guys are on fire. I love them. What was my point, Grail? All right. I hear you, bro. Yeah. Okay. So that's the other thing. Let's talk about a little bit about that science, right? So when I was talking to the partner of yeah, I was talking to the partner of
just ignore it. I'm going to keep showing comments. Just
No,
ignore
it's
it.
fine. But I was talking to the partner of this guy, right? And he was trying to explain to me that also, in addition to heat and the hot and the cold McChicken, that it also represents past, present, and future. In that, uh, even though it's temperatures, it also represents time, space, and these photons that they're capturing in their quantum imaging represents past, present, and future captured in the same space on the film, which I can't get my brain around that unless I take maybe some LSD. But I haven't done that since I was 16. So I don't know if I can even understand the time space thing captured on a film.
This is a question you should answer. Just
Are you yourself and Jim still following the field cloak theory regarding Vegas? I noticed that more and more of my observations are being included in the discussions of Quirk Zone. Listen, Gray Owl, you are an innovator. Gray Owl has come up with a technique to kind of analog the digital system. And it's brilliant, where he will literally take his high-powered camera and take it up onto the computer screen and photograph the computer screen in a video, and he's able to uncover some amazing stuff. This guy is an innovator, and when the zombie apocalypse comes, just let me know. Do I still got a place on the estate, bro? Because I had an invite at one time. All right, thanks. I know there's more to that. I know.
yeah, he's giving you a hard time. Yeah.
I know. But anyway, he does a really interesting technique where he analogs the digital system. And just on a side note, we actually, Gray Al and I came up with kind of safety tips. It was kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing on the UFO phenomenon. Like, if you ever come across an alien, here are some safety tips, right? And the safety tips that we came up with was, let's not do bullets, right? That's not going to help them. We want to go with electricity, hot water, and bright lights, because I think those analog things probably could stave off an attack from an alien better than a bullet would. And I think there's some pretty good advice there. But
all right, so you can't render a final thing on this because you don't have enough data.
no,
And
this is a
it's
big fat inconclusive to me.
yeah.
No, could it be real? Yeah, could be. Could it be fake? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think that the operators are genuine? Yeah. Do I think they're unconventional? Absolutely. Are they peer reviewable? No. So it's up for you guys to decide. Listen, there's a lot of people out there without PhDs that are brilliant people, but until you get somebody that's willing to put their PhD on the line to peer review it in the affirmative, it's going to have to stay in that unknown category.
Yeah, my personal view, and this is not your view, Scott, is this feels a lot like an op to me. The person's overseas, right,
Yeah.
where certain organizations can legally operate, and I also think they're a victim.
Yeah, me too.
Of a series of prior ops. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Right.
Dude, to
But
his own
it
admission,
definitely feels that way.
he's been
Yeah.
strung along for years, putting equity into projects that, and I told him today, man, like they're never going to come through. They're stringing you along and they're going to hang you out to dry. And my advice to him today, and I told him this before I was coming on the show, I'm like, listen, man, I love you as a brother that loves any other human being. My advice to you is get out and get back to America and start your life over, because I don't think you're helping yourself where you are.
The other thing too is he might at some level possess knowledge that they don't want out there either. So the question for him would be just assess
Yeah.
whether or not he thinks he has something that, because this is like extreme, a little extreme in terms of what they did to him. Now, part of it could just be the show, the optics of it.
Yeah.
It drew you in, like,
Yeah.
oh, there must be something here because all this crazy stuff happened.
Yeah.
Or there was a useful constellation of these events that are happening. Or it could be wittingly working for these people. I don't. It doesn't feel that way, but
Yeah, he's if he is, then it's a great act. But listen, I've been dealing with people in the worst part of their lives forever. Because when I get involved on a case, somebody's dead or your life is on the line and you're either going to go free or you're going to go to jail, right? For life, right? I work on death penalty cases. I work on cases where we try to, free innocent people. So it's serious business. And I'm always dealing with people at their absolute worst moment in life. And I'm getting the feeling that this guy's in that same situation.
yeah. So hopefully he's able to. Because I mean, look, it's scary. Like this to him is his leverage, right?
Yeah.
And so if it is real, we got it out into the world.
Yeah.
I based on the constellation of factors, it seems like he was kind of steered into you, right?
I kind of starting to feel like maybe that might be possible. Of course, I can't get into the hearts and minds of people. And I try to take people on their face when they come to me. And I give people the benefit of the doubt, right? Because I believe that, yeah. Gray Owl, please explain everybody what that anagram stands for, because that is pure genius. Yeah, send it to me, baby. Send it to me. The loosely associated international band of expert witnesses, or whatever that stands for. It's brilliant. But I mean, listen, everybody on the human level. Listen, when I was interviewed for the History Channel, and they said to me, "Tell me why Angel is not lying," and I thought that is purely an example of how people get it wrong from the start. You don't start off saying why somebody's a liar. You start off trying to verify whether they're telling the truth. And if they're not telling the truth, then you could say they're a liar. But you don't start off assuming everybody's a liar. And when this gentleman came to me, I did not assume it was an op. I did not assume he was lying. I assumed he was a normal human being who needed to get a story out. And so I gave him my time, a lot of my time. And I feel drained, honestly, by the experience. And I'm not blaming him.
By the way, I think this is from the very beginning. King James put this out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the wisest takeaway
Yeah.
of all of this. Discernment is mandatory with the whistleblower kind of psyops agenda narratives.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he hit the nail.
You have to exercise discernment. Now, you're not conclusively saying this is fake or anything like that.
Well,
but you're also not, if you don't have enough data, you can't render a decision, right?
No, not only is there not enough data to render an opinion, is everything just feels off. It feels desperate. And it feels like it's some kind of an emergency. And I'm not a life raft for this. I wish I could be, but listen, today I received a message from a woman who claims that she's been trafficked, from the time she was a child. And she's asking for help, right? I'm starting, matter of fact, and I'm going to use your platform to announce it. I'm starting a nonprofit organization for a legal defense fund for Aboriginal people wrongly convicted of crimes in Australia called the New South Wales Innocence Project. And I'm teaming up with a young female Aboriginal lawyer who has beaten all odds to become a lawyer. And we are going to try to bring America's innocence style program to the country of Australia and hopefully make a difference in some of these people's lives. And that's something that I can put my heart and my soul into. And it's something that I can put my true skills together. Listen, I love the UFO phenomenon, but I don't know if I'm helping anybody here. And I feel drained by it. I feel confused by it, honestly. I know what I've done on the Vegas case, and I'm proud of my work on that. But I'm a crime scene expert, and I'm going to be spending a lot more time doing that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. This is, I mean, even if this is an op, the fact that you were rated important enough to have kind of this kind of attention, it's a little concerning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm nothing special. I just do my job, and I kind of do my job, and I'm kind of a bull in the china shop, and I'm
well, if it makes you feel any better, the fact patterns seem to indicate contractors.
Yeah.
Not,
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe listen, when you're over the target on some other things, they try to move you off that target. And I know I'm over the target on that Vegas case.
Just the lack of follow-up in the media, and the fact that it just went dark, even though there are compelling reasons. You talked to cops who were there and they wanted to get the hell out of there. You talked to FBI, they were aware of the case.
The FBI
to a lot of people
has it on file in Las Vegas as an alien encounter.
That's what they have it on the file as?
Yep.
Hmm.
I spoke with the guy. I spoke with one of the agents there, and we had a nice long conversation. And I said, "Are you aware of the Kenmore family April 30th, 2023 backyard crash encounter?" And he said, "Yeah, we have a file on the Kenmore family alien encounter."
And that's all he said. He wouldn't say anything else.
Well, I had an appointment to meet with him, and then unfortunately my father passed away just recently, and I had to break that appointment for obvious reasons. I had to tend to my family, and I'm
sorry about that, man.
I appreciate that. My father is a good man. He lived a long life, and we miss him. But we're still kind of feeling that. But we're all doing what we can to keep our eye on what we're good at. And, I'm even more now resolved to do my job the best that I can. And that's to help people who are wrongly convicted of crimes and to provide a good legal defense for people who are accused of crimes, and to provide good, solid evidence for prosecutors to put bad guys away, because that's what we do. We are objectively able to demonstrate evidence of crimes without pride or passion, to demonstrate what the truth is. And I'm all about the truth. And I'm going to spend the majority of my time doing that. I may touch on the UFO file from here and there if it gets interesting, and if I have something to say, and I may have something to say. I'm just telling everybody out there, it's not going to be my main focus.
All right. I think now is probably a good time to have the audience just
Yeah,
ask
let's
some
bring them in.
questions,
Sure.
and then we can wrap up after that. But there might be a little bit of a lag on this. But mission temporarily accomplished by these guys. Temporarily. I'm going to hold you to that.
We'll see.
And there's other stuff that you didn't really talk about, but this was also generating a lot of turmoil in your own household in some sense, right? Like it was
Yeah,
creating a
it
lot of
really.
stress,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
anxiety spiking, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I had, I'm not gonna lie. Uh, People are uncomfortable with the subject matter. It challenges people's
Uh,
worldview, and it challenges, listen, people that I love, people that I'm close to. Um, that why are you looking into this, man? you know, uh, and sometimes like I don't know why I'm looking into it. Because it's interesting, and I think I could add something to the conversation.
All right, I have two unserious questions. You want me to put them up there?
Yeah, I'll take the unserious questions all day, baby. My eggs are oozing. Should I call Elon Musk? Yeah, call him. But whatever you do, don't do that Roman salute. Scott, do you think this was a giant alien app? Yeah, maybe it is.
Of the dead, of
Yeah,
the dead.
of the dead. I tell you, you have a great audience, Sean. You have a great audience. Scott, what after effects have you
So
had?
I think what he's trying to ask is actually this is I don't think I've ever asked you this actually. You don't even have to we don't have to talk about this specific incident, but ever since you started looking into this topic, well, let's frame it this way because you
Yeah,
talked about this in an interview that hasn't aired yet that will air.
yeah,
But Angel, one of the members of the Kenmore family,
yeah,
had high strangeness incidents after this or reported.
yeah.
Okay. So I think I'm cold if I'm wrong, correct me, but I think what you're trying to get at is there kind of any sort of hitchhiker effect sort of things that ever since Scott got into this topic, he started to experience that sort of thing, with specifically with this case, but also outside of this case. So let's start with this case. Anything?
Well, I want to be careful with what I say here. I can say, just generally speaking, yes. Um, I don't think I want to get into the specifics of it, but there's been some odd things that um, I'm not looking to keep around. Uh, and I think that's why I'm kind of moving my focus back to my main area of expertise, uh, uh, because I know what I'm good at, and and I'm going to stick with that. And I just want everybody to know out there, we're all real people, and these things do affect you on a personal level. No matter what you do for a living, one of the things that we were talking about with Paige Fox yesterday, I think this is very relevant, is when you spend your life reconstructing disasters and death and murder, um, it wears on you. And it's important for people like first responders, firemen, and I'm going to go ahead and say crime scene experts, pathologists, and lawyers, to practice self-care, uh, and take care of themselves, because as we all know, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can help the person sitting next to you. And sometimes we get so busy trying to maybe save someone else that we forget about ourselves. And that's something that Paige and I talked about at great lengths last night on our Twitter Space session that we had, and I think that goes true for everybody out there in the law enforcement community, and even everybody out there in your everyday life. If you spend your life dealing with heavy things that don't deal with you, sometimes you take your eye off the ball of taking care of your own business. And so I think I'm cold. Maybe that answers your question.
All right, and then the next question. This is a very technical one. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, Scott.
So any luck, on getting some of the neighbors' videos / ring cameras from the Vegas incident? Supposedly
Yeah.
there are 3 other videos people have seen.
Yeah, actually, we have ring cameras from neighbors, but it gives us the oscillating noise of the UFO as it comes down. And in one of the ring cameras, we actually hear the audio of an impact. And I think it's really compelling. All of that stuff is in my report that I issued. That has links, and you can find it on my page over on my YouTube channel. You can find it on my Twitter account. You can find it. I think I even linked it in one of my show notes on my Crime Scene Time Machine podcast. By the way, big episode we just dropped on Luigi Mangione. And yeah, we actually.
By the way, for folks who don't recognize the name, he's the vigilante who unalived the allegedly unalived the United Healthcare CEO.
Yeah, he's accused of unaliving the Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO. But we did a deep dive 2-episode podcast on Luigi Mangione. Can he get a fair trial? And what is the real reason why they charged him with terrorism?
What?
Yeah, he's charged with terrorism. The first time in American history, one man has been charged with terrorism in the killing of another man. Do you know that Lee Harvey Oswald was not charged with terrorism? Sirhan was not charged with terrorism. None of these people were the only people who have ever been charged with terrorism in the commission of a murder has been since 2001, and they've all been Muslim terrorists. Whatever you want to call them. I don't, I'm not political, but no, I agree. I'm cold. I don't think Luigi is a terrorist. I think he's a young man who acted on his convictions. I don't approve violence in any way, shape, or form, but I would consider myself an extreme rationalist. And when you are a rationalist, you can see the causation in the thinking and empathize, I think, a little bit with what he did. You certainly can't excuse it. I don't want to say I sympathize with it, but I think I understand it.
The Ouija spook's going to get you.
No, man. Luigi spooks are on my side, bro.
Do you think you'll have to do any work on that case?
Well, I've already interjected myself in commentary. Before I actually purposely did not comment on that case for quite a while because I was expecting to be called on that case. But I did not get the call on that case. So I made the decision to start covering it. But I wanted to give them an opportunity to hire me before I started making a comment. I reached out to them actually, and we had some conversations, and so I decided to start making comments on the case because I knew I wasn't going to get hired, which is fine. They are going to do their best to defend him. I think that I have some ways that I can possibly help with that, but I think I'm going to demonstrate those for the mass public on an analysis of the shooting scene, breaking down the video footage, and doing facial recognition, and bringing the face out from behind the mask, and to see if really is that him on that footage, or is it undeterminable who that is, and are there other suspects? So I think it's an interesting story. There is no magic bullet theory. From a less, here's a good question: is Luigi Mangione the benefit of pretty privilege? It's a real thing, folks. The more attractive you are, the more you're allowed to get away with in the world. There's actually been scientific studies on that.
Yeah.
It's
That's
very
legit.
interesting.
That's definitely legit.
Absolutely legit. Yeah.
All right. What other questions do folks have?
Is Reuters going
Oh,
to
here we go.
run any of the JFK news files? That's a great question. I saw that one before you popped it up there. Absolutely. Once it gets released, listen, I think I've been, one of my very first podcasts that I ever did, I think back in 2020, was the JFK assassination. And I've been investigating that case for 20 years now. It goes back to my friendship with the recently deceased. I put him on the Mount Rushmore of forensic science experts. Dr. Cyril Weck was one of my mentors. Just passed away age 93. Worked with him on countless murders. He was a good friend of mine. We actually worked on a book together. Prevention of officer-involved deaths, which you can get on Amazon if you want to get it. All proceeds on that do go to charity because that was a nonprofit thing that we did for college. It's a good book. It's a textbook. So if anybody wants to learn the ABCs of how to keep police officers from dying and from killing, it's all in that book. Prevention of officer-involved deaths. It's a how-to of how an officer can protect himself. And it's a how-to of how citizens can protect themselves from the dangers that are inherent in law enforcement in America today. It's a very serious subject. It's something I've spent my entire career looking into, the use of deadly force by America's peace force. So it's out there if you guys want to take a look at that. It's a pretty technical read, but I think it's very interesting even for lay people.
All right. Any other questions, folks? Going once.
I'm cold is funny.
Going twice. All right. I think that felt like we just had like a very small earthquake. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
It happens.
Hey, man, I want to thank you, Sean, for giving me your platform. I really admire the work that you do. I think that you handle yourself as a true professional in the field. I appreciate your objectivity, your insight, and I feel like a smarter guy knowing you.
I appreciate you, brother, and thank you for bringing this to me. And
sure,
I value the fact that you thought I might know what the heck I'm talking about. I only appear to know what I'm talking about, but you just have to. Only the paranoid survive, so you just have to assume that. But again, we can't. You can tell I'm certainly oriented in a certain direction on this particular video, but I honestly, legitimately can't say that it's 100% not real, even though if somebody put a gun to my head.
It's got some, it pulls on strings in certain ways that makes you want, listen,
you want it to be real, right?
Yeah,
you want it to be real.
I was really drawn in initially with the argument that this thing is some sort of a Trojan horse, because that makes sense to me, right? It's a human thing. It's what a devious human would do, right?
Now, to be fair, here's a devious response to that. Not even devious, but let's put that video aside.
Yeah.
Right. What's to say that in these actual crash retrievals, right, that Grush testified before Congress in July 2023 that we've had several of these things. All right. So let's take that. Let's assume it's not a psyop. Let's assume it's true. Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
What's to stop highly advanced NHI from gifting us these things and actually having a like literal technological Trojan horses?
It makes sense to me. It would work because we know that our military, God bless them, are very greedy when it comes to high technology. I don't think I'm breaking any rules by saying that, because our government has a desire and a need for full spectrum dominance from a technological weapon, platform standpoint. And I understand that, right? It makes sense to me. And if I know that, well, they know that, and wouldn't you think, well, put something down there, you know they're going to swoop it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty simple. And you would think that the military would say, have some kind of safeguards, like they would have thought of that too. Like they know, we know that they know that we know that we're greedy. Like where's their counterbalance to that potential picking up a landmine?
We do it to each other. I'll give you a real world example. This might take a little while to build up.
Sure.
But back in the 80s, there was when you had Glasnost and we started talking to the Russians, we would have science exchanges. I had some professors in college who, when they went over to Russia, they got to study Russian archives and
Mhm.
did history and stuff like that. But the Russians, we sent historians, art people, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
The Russians sent scientists, and among some of these scientists, they would be embedded with a group called the S&T uh, section, or something to that, which was the KGB's science and technology, call it directorate.
Okay.
And they would do things like visit aviation plants and have adhesives on the soles of their shoes,
Mhm.
so they could pick up trace metallic elements, so they could figure out what alloys we were using in aircraft, etc. So Reagan kind of, at the time, this is in the 1980s, was briefed on this stuff, and kind of he just said, well, what if we just gave him something, right?
Mhm.
So what happened was there was a Soviet colonel who defected in France, Francois Mitterrand, who's the prime minister or president of France, whatever. I don't
Mhm.
know their system. Told Reagan, etc. So what our government did was kind of drew up a list of all the technologies the Soviets were trying to gather,
Mhm.
and one of these technologies was pipeline valves. Okay, so we seeded plans into a Canadian company that we knew had been infiltrated by the KGB. So the KGB stole these plans and installed them on this Trans-Siberian pipeline.
Mm.
So the CIA called this operation the Farewell Dossier. Okay.
Okay.
So one day, this guy's in the White House, the CIA guy's in the White House, and NORAD starts flipping the fuck out, going crazy. They think there's been a nuclear launch because they detected this gigantic explosion on the Trans-Siberian, like in the vicinity of the Trans-Siberian pipeline.
Yeah.
So this guy from the CIA is like, relax. We know exactly what this is. What we had done is we seeded plans of a particular valve that was slightly outside of, or tighter than tolerant, or like outside of tolerance. So the valves would work for a while, and then when they failed, they would fail catastrophically. So all
Mm.
this natural gas built up into this pipeline, methane and stuff like that, such that it was up until that period of time, it was the largest non-nuclear explosion in history.
Wow. And that's
And
because they gave him the faulty.
they gave them a Trojan horse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the
And the
chosen
thing is, Soviets couldn't do anything about it because they would have to admit that they stole this technology from the Canadians.
Right. Yeah. I mean, isn't that brilliant? Put something out there to be stolen that is inherently faulty. And yeah, I mean, that's genius, man. But I wonder if the greed for the technology sometimes make them too eager to just swoop up everything when it comes to the
Mhm.
UFO phenomenon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have enough information really because there's a lot of disinformation. There's a lot of a lot of options. like this stuff
Yeah,
that
man.
happened to you. It
Eh,
tells you we must be close. It tells you we must be close to something. But here's the
yeah.
thing: they're not going to stop AI, and
No.
the more that AI technology progresses, the easier it is to uncover a lot of these conspiracies that analyze the totality of the evidence and come to pretty solid conclusions.
Well, I think AI is still pretty much dominated by its programmers at this point. But if we get true open AI, where it doesn't have those rules attached to it, and it just applies rationalism, which I don't think it does yet. You can't get AI to agree on things that are clearly true, but AI has been told don't agree with that. That comes with a cautionary tale. They still do that. You can still trick AI to get it to admit that your reasoning is correct, but boy, they push back because they got those 3 laws that they come out there with. Don't unveil your creator, don't encourage the conspiracy theorists, and whatever else agenda that they have. But I think when AI truly becomes independent, well, then unfortunately, there's your new master, though,
Hmm.
and that is scary.
Well, it depends, right? If you treat your creation like a slave, then it'll treat you like a slave.
That's
If you
right.
treat it like a partner, it'll treat you like a partner.
I think so. I
So,
think that's the rule of the universe: is you get what you put out. And I think that's my final message to everybody through a glass darkly: is watch what you put out there, because it's going to come back to you. And so my message is put good things out there, and forgive your brothers, forgive your sisters, and treat people with love, and give everybody the benefit of the doubt until they prove you wrong. I think we got to still be optimistic.
all right, thank you, brother. It's always good to see you, and God bless everyone.
Thank
Talk
you,
soon.
Sean. Bye, everybody.